everybody. Welcome back to the Film Buds podcast. This is episode number 160, and my name is Henry.
And I'm Paul.
And this week, as we teased last week, we're joined by another friend of ours from UNC Greensboro, where many of our guests are from, Nick Delgadillo. Hey, Nick.
Hello. Hi.
How you doing, man?
I am indeed here in Charlotte, North Carolina, where it's been rainy and cold for a long time, but better off than a lot of the country right now, thankfully.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Well, this week we have a review of Judas and the Black Messiah, which is now on HBO Max. And then Nick here might tell us about some of his virtual experience at the Sundance Film Festival, which he's been covering in capacity of sorts. And so then if we have time, we might get to some other stuff, but it all depends on how long that goes. So thanks again for joining us. Well,
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, man. Anytime. How's it going, everybody?
We're here.
Yeah. I'm doing pretty well. Did some yard work today, found out that the short story that I submitted didn't make it further, but that's part of the process is, just getting it out there and trying your hand with it. So, but I'm doing pretty well, all things considered.
Yeah. Nick, since you are a first-time guest, would you like to maybe tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, perhaps your background in film, biggest hopes, dreams?
So my name is Nicolas Delgadillo. I was born in Half Moon Bay, California, which is like a half-hour drive from San Francisco. I was born in the city. Whenever I say where I'm from, people ask if I surf. No, I wish. I moved to Charlotte when I was 6 years old, being me by myself. No, my dad moved us out here. I've lived here most of my life. I spent some time, like you said, up in Greensboro. I've lived in Florida for a little bit. This is just where I've ended up, and I'm pretty okay with it. I've got a wife, got a dog, I've got a new baby. It is pretty sweet. But who cares about all that? We're going to talk about the movies. So let's see. I don't have any formal education when it comes to film or film studies or anything like that. Just like an avid fan, basically. I loved, like a lot of kids, I was really captivated by movies growing up, especially all the classic Disney animated ones. I grew up during the Disney Renaissance era. The Lion King's still probably my favorite movie ever. And I also loved stuff like Jurassic Park. And then, once we got into high school and everything is when the MCU kicked off. So I was really brought up on like the big blockbuster stuff, which I've always loved. And a few years ago, I think like four or 5 years ago, I was like, I really want to try and figure out what to do. I feel like so many of us have so much information and knowledge in our heads and no real way, like no practical way to like make use of it. Like I have no idea how to do my taxes, but I could tell you like every character and the actor who plays them in the Marvel universe. And, just what would essentially be useless information like that. And I was like, can I put this to use? So I was inspired by YouTube, like film critics, for lack of a better term, video essays, stuff like that.
Sure.
People like Chris Stuckman, like the big ones. I like Lindsay Ellis a lot, Jenny Nicholson, stuff like that. So I initially started off with a YouTube channel. And I did that for a few months, and it just became way too much because I was doing everything myself. It's a lot more because you have to write, you have to watch whatever it is you're going to watch. You got to write a script, basically, your feelings on it, at least set everything up, film it, edit it, all that.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it comes from that I decided like, well, I'll just do the writing,
Yeah.
That's another option. People just do written reviews as well.
Yeah.
So once I started doing that, I did a quick search for any places that were hiring for a film critic. Once I started practicing that, I got really lucky. I got a job with Discussing Film, which is a really cool outlet that's still new. It's 4 years old now.
Yeah.
But it has a huge following already, lots of engagement and stuff, lots of really cool like interview opportunities and screeners and stuff like that. That's been really exciting. That first year I started writing, I also joined Cultured Vultures.
Oh, yeah.
And they're mostly gaming. I'm in video games. I do not do that side of it. I'm part of the movie side. And that one's nice because Cultured Vultures is Rotten Tomatoes certified. So anything I write on there goes straight to the site.
Oh, cool.
Cool. What else? I write for 2 more outlets. I've written a few pieces for Geeks of Color, which is really nice. You should check them out. And I just started at Knotfest, which is started off as the festival for the band Slipknot.
Oh, yeah.
Like their version of Ozfest, you know. And now it's expanded into its whole sort of platform where they cover, music for the most part. And now they're starting to build up, their film side of things. Just an all, entertainment publication, more or less. Really cool. I do a weekly streaming guide over there. And as you mentioned, I just covered Sundance, which is my first. I've covered one festival before, but this is my first major festival.
Sweet.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That was a lot, and I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're fine, man. You're fine. That's what the show is all about. Well, cool. Well, I guess we do have a lot to talk about. Should we, anything else you guys want to mention before we get to it?
No, I guess just for a real quick bit of background, I've known Nick for a decade now, officially, and I was also the best man in his wedding. So it's currently an episode of a bunch of very connected people, all the way back to high school, college, and more.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, I guess we should get into the review of Judas and the Black Messiah. And we do have a clip, so take a listen.
Well, we ain't talking about some hippies playing bongos in the park. These the same motherfuckers hit Dr. King with a brick.
I don't know how I feel about going up in there without my pistol.
Right on. Best you stay behind then.
This place may be 2-3 times as many of us. Well, they might think it's easy to throw out the white trash, but they better fucking burn it. You're Fred Hampton.
Hey, what the fuck? You must be the preacher man.
All right. As we said, Judas and the Black Messiah is on HBO Max currently. And it stars Daniel Kaluuya, Lakeith Stanfield, Jesse Plemons, Dominique Fishback, Ashton Sanders, Martin Sheen. Am I forgetting anybody big?
No.
Jesse.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, you already said him.
No, yeah, you're fine. All right. So the synopsis here, IMDb synopsis. Bill O'Neill infiltrates the Black Panther Party per FBI agent Mitchell and J. Edgar Hoover. As party chairman Fred Hampton ascends, falling for a fellow revolutionary en route, a battle wages for O'Neill's soul.
Nice.
Not my favorite. A little wordy, but not the worst we've had.
No, we've had worse.
Yeah.
Synopsis from IMDb or
IMDb, yeah. So, okay, well, I guess Nick, again, since you are a first-time guest here, would you like to kick things off?
Sure. So I saw Judas and the Black Messiah at its Sundance premiere. A few critics had already screened it a few weeks earlier, so it's not like we were the very first ones to see it. But it was still, a whole thing. It was announced like last second, like a week or so before the festival officially kicked off. So it was a nice surprise, and it was one that I immediately was like, I definitely going to watch that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I think this is a really great movie that kind of, I don't want to say subverts, but it really revitalizes the biopic kind of genre, because it's not an entirely conventional biopic, probably just for the subject matter itself, the figure that it's covering. If you hear my dog screaming, I'm so sorry.
It's all good. It adds to the ambiance.
I loved it. I think what really drew me was the cast. I love Daniel Kaluuya. I love Lakeith Stanfield a lot. And so I was immediately intrigued by that, as well as like the obvious relevancy. It's kind of redundant to say a topical movie or a timely movie right now. But it very much is. I don't know. I'll jump in. Trying to think of like specific avenues.
Sure. Paul, what do you think, man?
No, I absolutely loved it. I mean, our government, has, in particular, the national security, intelligence wing, has a history of behaving badly. And I think that a lot of people really don't realize just how deep that goes into our history and how deep that goes into the history of like the civil rights movement. And so I think that it's a great movie, especially, right now when, over the summer you did have incidences of, shady government arrests happening, at Black Lives Matter protests. So I think that it's super timely. This is hands down, I think, my favorite Daniel Kaluuya performance. And I've loved him in everything that I've seen him in. Mm-hmm. But he came in and he took charge of that screen, like he dominated it. And so this is probably my favorite performance of his. I love that it's a cast of, faces that I haven't seen. I loved the soundtrack of the movie. Honestly, there's really not a lot that I dislike about this movie. Anything that I dislike is at a certain point for me, probably like nitpicking.
Sure.
How do you feel, Henry?
Well, I agree, like, about what Nick was saying with like calling something like timely or relevant. It's like these issues have really always been going on, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to call it that, and it's just that these movies kind of bring them back up as they should, and I'm glad that they do. In terms of the movie itself, I liked it. I don't think I liked it as much as you guys. I agree about Daniel Kaluuya. I think he's amazing. I think my favorite of his is Queen and Slim, which was great. And Lakeith Stanfield is awesome as well. I mean, he was in Knives Out recently, as well as some big other films. I love seeing them act, and I think they're great together. Overall, with films like this that are dealing with infiltration, which I love, like government infiltration, undercover films, I did find that the Lakeith Stanfield storyline was much drier and less interesting to me than the Daniel Kaluuya one, which is often the case with these kind of films. And so I thought it was very intense at times. It had a lot of interesting ideas, but there were points that I kind of would lose interest because I always kind of wanted to get back to Daniel Kaluuya, because not only his performance, but I think the writing was also stronger on his end than it was for Lakeith. And I think Lakeith Stanfield was great in it, but I think the writing kind of failed him.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I agree on, which is interesting because I think William O'Neill, Lakeith's character, is intended to be the main character more so than Fred Hampton is. And I think what's really interesting to me is the way, can we get into spoilers now, or do you?
Yeah, sure. Let's go for it. So spoilers ahead.
Well, this is very minor spoiler, but how the movie ends with the actual interview with O'Neill. And when he's speaking in that interview and saying, at least I did something, like I wasn't like an armchair revolutionary. Like I had a point of view and I was like, I was involved and everything. only to then take his life like right after following that interview. I think it shows a really more conflicted person than that the script allows Lakeith to be. I think Lakeith does the best with what he's given there, but as far as what the actual character of O'Neill, I feel like it's kind of distant. I don't know what it is that he wants. Like I'm never sure what it is that he wants.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of the film, Jesse Plemons' character, when he asks him, how did you feel about the deaths of MLK Jr. and Malcolm X? And he's like, I haven't really thought about that. And I just feel like we needed more from that aspect. Like, what was his real point of view on things? Did he actually, and I know the whole point is to show that he's torn, between which side, ultimately, sell my soul to, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm. But
I feel like personally, we don't see enough of that conflict and get to know exactly what kind of person he is. And that's tricky because that's a very complicated person, like in actuality, like historical.
So random aside, do you guys want to know like how he actually died?
Please.
Sure.
Okay, because the movie makes it sound, I think, when you read like, that he killed himself, that it seems very much like he hung himself, he slit his wrists, he, shot himself, something like that. He died drunk in traffic. And so apparently it was like the night. What'd you say, Nick?
Like more depressing.
No, yeah. So the night that the documentary aired, Eyes on the Prize 2, he apparently like got drunk, was carrying on, became difficult to manage, and then was like out running in traffic and got hit by a car, and it was declared a suicide. And that's actually how Bill O'Neill left, and he was like 40, like even. And this is actually going into the movie. One thing that I kind of had an issue with was like, I think that they casted Lakeith, who does a good job, like, he does wonderful, and Daniel Kaluuya does a great job as well. But I think that they decided to cast up age-wise, and I think that it works for Kaluuya, but I think that it makes Lakeith's character a little bit more nebulous and weird because in actuality, he was like 17 at the time.
That's the point I was going to bring up also. I think it hurts both characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think, again, Kaluuya's Hampton walks away like the stronger of the two characters, but
yeah,
I think it does a bit of a disservice to the actual story. And I understand why they have to cast big stars to get this thing made. And the director Shaka King basically like said as much. His first film was at 2013 Sundance, and like someone literally said that to him. Like it didn't go over well. He had two like basically unknowns as leads in that film. It was called Newlyweds, and they're basically like, yeah, like no one's gonna buy the film because no one knows. Like, you have like unknown black actors, you need famous black actors. And, he made a great point. That was obviously like, I don't know any of these white actors in a lot of these, like, that's the point of Sundance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But more to the point, by casting older actors, they lose one of the real gut punches of the story, which is just how young these guys. Fred was only 21 when he died. Said O'Neill was 17 when he got recruited. He was 20, I think, when Hampton was assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
But yeah, so I think that the writing for that character was by far my least favorite. And Paul, I know you love him. I hate to say it, I am not really a Jesse Plemons fan.
Oh no!
I heard you mention that a few weeks ago, and I was like, oh no, I'll bring it up at the right time. And thankfully he was in this movie. I don't think he's bad in this, but he's not someone I love. I'll just say that.
Okay.
And what have you seen from him?
I've seen, I guess he's one of those character actors that pops up so frequently. I mean, I've seen him in, I could probably go through his filmography, and I've seen most of it. Yeah. I mean, okay. not to detour too much here, what are the films of his that y'all love or performances?
I really weirdly love his Breaking Bad character.
Okay.
I think he's very funny in Game Night, and I think my favorite would probably be his Black Mirror episode.
Okay.
Okay.
Paul?
I think that he is great in Fargo season 2. I think he absolutely kills it there. I'm a really big fan of him in The Master as Philip Seymour Hoffman's son. This is just a random aside. I used to make a joke that I thought that Jesse Plemons was the Black Mirror result of Hollywood experiment to hybridize Matt Damon and Philip Seymour Hoffman into one actor. And it worked. But I'm trying to think what else do I enjoy of Jesse Plemons? I guess more to the point of like why I like him is when I have seen him, he has killed it for me. And when it's a role that doesn't really like give him the chance to like do everything that I think he can do, I think he still does a good job. Black Mass, I think that's a role where he's just kind of definitely present, but I think that he does great in it. I think he does a good job at selling me on like, you know, part of this story is how the pressure, the strong arming, the tactics rolled downhill, right? And you don't get it for very long with Plemons, but you get this kind of scene, that weird scene where he gets challenged by Hoover and his own boss. And it's definitely made very obvious that if he doesn't answer the right way, you know, which is to say that if his wife or if his daughter brings home a black man, you know, that he'll have some sort of, you know, conniption fit, you know, absolutely freak out and disown her or whatever. You know, it becomes obvious that he's very pressured and sort of strong armed. And it's the only scene that you get of him being strong armed. But I think that it's an important scene because it becomes this kind of like, that's how you develop a top down culture, you know, inside of the organization of, you know, uncomfortable questions and of forcing you to confront things that like you didn't necessarily think that you were like gonna suddenly have to like talk about in your daily life. And I think that it's an interesting little scene, and I just think that Jesse Plemons does a great job of creating complexity in roles. But I'll stop now.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could talk about that for a long time.
So why don't you like him?
Let's
get more to the point.
To me, every time, and I'm not like singling him out as like some horrible actor, every time I see him, and I've seen everything y'all mentioned except Fargo season 2, and I've seen some others, it always feels like I can, not only that he's trying too hard, but I can see his research in his performance. And it's like I can see his or feel his preparation. I don't know why exactly. I wouldn't be able to detail why, but it always bugs me.
Interesting.
His performances don't come across as like natural for you.
Exactly. And it's purely I know I say this all the time. It's just a subjective thing. It's not someone I could really argue about, obviously. But
no, yeah.
It's just from the first time I saw him, I something about him, it didn't rub me the right way. But, you know, that's a conversation for another time. Maybe a Jesse Plemons bonus shows in the works. But anyways, back to Judas. So Paul, and you had mentioned, I think the soundtrack and the score are both great. I think that adds some great atmosphere and mood to the movie. That was one thing I really liked about it.
I guess if I had any other complaint for the film, it would be that I thought that the first hour and so was really, really, really tight. And I did think that second hour just had a little bit of a pacing problem for me. Not much of one, but enough that I definitely felt like I was more aware of the length of the movie in the second half versus the first half. But I don't know.
It reaches the point where it has to get through a lot of stuff in like its second half, whereas, you know, the first half, it's allowed to take its time to establish everything. And now we got to get to it.
Yeah.
There was I thought the shootout on the street was great. Where they're shooting from the windows, that was fantastic. Really well done.
I think what I like is that it's very overt about its politics, and it doesn't really sugarcoat it. At the end of the day, it's still a Hollywood production of the news, so it's not going full communist anytime soon. But I like that they allow Hampton's speeches to kind of just speak for themselves, instead of having like very unnatural dialogue scenes of like, now we're going to discuss our politics. Like now we're discuss how the screenwriter feels about things. Just using the speeches gives you all that you need to know. And like Paul said, Kaluuya just kills it.
Yeah.
Especially in the big one in the third act it's great stuff there. So I like that it has such an overtly politics stance, for lack of a better term there, but it's also still very much feels like it's still very thrilling. It's very exciting. And it's nice to see that balance. Yeah.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
When I was watching the movie, I was like, this is just a sort of, I guess, a random aside. I was like, Martin Sheen is maybe hamming it up, but honestly, J. Edgar was also a lunatic, so
exactly what's called for. I honestly kind of wish we had more scenes with him and the FBI side of things, just because those scenes were very like Spike Lee inspired. I think obviously in the way Spike Lee really, I would say exaggerates the way that like the people in power are. Oh, maybe only a little.
Yeah. But no, I think, as I had said, Daniel Kaluuya is like, he as Paul, you had mentioned, he really like commands that screen so well. And I mean, he really does it in all of his performances, but he's really good and so natural in this. He's not like being very over the top caricature kind of revolutionary. He feels authentic as much as you could.
Yeah. And, like I liked him in Get Out, but that's such a subdued, such a subtle performance. There's so much restraint happening in that character throughout that story, I think, that then suddenly just get to see him be this character who, walks up and goes, I don't need a microphone. Y'all can hear me, and just projects all the way to the back of the room, effortlessly. It's just it's wonderful to see an actor get to be able to do such a breadth of performance, because so often people get, pegged into just being particular things.
I think it's easily like the one where he's allowed to go big. I feel like most everything he's been in so far has been pretty subdued as far as for the character, like you said. I really liked his performance in Widows.
I was about to bring that up. That was great.
So good in that he's given a little bit more.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else in particular about Judas and the Black Messiah, guys?
I think it's a big testament to Shaka King, who like he's had one like kind of major film, which was a Sundance, his 2013 Newlyweds, and then he pivoted to television after that. So he hasn't really done anything like of this scale, of this with this like level of star power before. And I think, for the most part, he knocked it out of the park. Like that's a hell of an impressive like show to kick off, So it'd be really cool to see where he goes from here.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So out of 5 stars, guys?
Nick?
Yeah, I gave this one, I give it 4.5. I have some minor issues with it that stops it from being a perfect movie. But I still very much love it. I think it gets most things right.
Yeah. Paul?
Yeah, I'm going to go 4.5 as well. It's a movie. It has something to say. It isn't apologizing for it. And like, I mean, it's a movie in the truest sense. You know, some of these movies that have come out recently that have obviously been like for streaming releases, they just don't have that quality. They feel like TV. This is a movie, and it's here to say something. It's here to try something, and I think that it does a great job.
Yeah, Paul, it's not the little things. You know, I mean, one could match up to that.
I wish I had been here for that one.
Oh, yeah.
Much more fun.
Well, it's a four for me. So cool. All right. Well, I guess we can move on to the next big event. So Nick here, as we had said, he covered Sundance this year. I actually went and saw it. I was there back in 2017 and 2018. And I talked about it on a 2018 episode. And so I've been there a couple times myself, but I'm curious to hear about the whole virtual experience because of COVID, obviously.
Yeah. So this was like the first of its kind, definitely. So Sundance was all virtual this year. They had some drive-in locations, which was pretty neat. Closest one to me was in Columbia, South Carolina. So that was still, like a few hour drive, which I was not up for. I think they did a great job. I didn't really have any issues on my end. What they'd basically do, they had windows of time where there'd be like 3 or 4 films playing, and you would, reserve a pass for whichever one you wanted. And then when that time came, there'd be a little chat that would open up, and you could talk to all the other festival goers like 15 minutes prior to the movie showing. The movie would premiere, just stream. Once it started, you had like 3 hours or whatever not 3 hours, like 4 hours to finish it once you would press play. And then they had a live Q&A after, which was very cool. And they'd take questions like from the chat and everything. So for Judas and the Black Messiah, they had everybody there. They had Shaka King, they had Daniel Kaluuya, they had Lakeith Stanfield, they had Dominique Fishback, and they even had Fred Hampton Jr., Fred Hampton's son, was there, and he was an advisor on the film. He was there every day on set. It was just a really neat experience. They had like a little virtual area you could go into. You could like create an avatar, and you could join chats. Like if you went up close enough to somebody, you could start a chat, which basically opened up like Zoom, more or less. The video chat with people. They're a big group. They had, everything you could think of, they pretty much had covered. It was a varied experience, and they had some great movies this year.
Yeah. Well, besides Judas and the Black Messiah, what were some other ones you saw?
I saw a ton. I saw Censor was my first big one, which was the first midnight film, and it takes place during what's called the video nasty era in the UK, which is a very funny term. But that's basically, there was a whole debate about violent content, in films, books, television, that we go through every couple decades, it feels like. And there were strict censorship laws that got put in place in the country. So this is about a woman who works on the censorship board, and her job, she just watches like these god-awful, like violent exploitation films all day, and decides whether to ban them outright or whether they have to cut scenes or content, in order to pass the ratings board. So she, it gets into like what kind of toll that would take, which was really interesting to me with the conversations starting up around people that do work for sites like Facebook and everything, and like the mental health toll and the lack of support that's given to people who do that kind of work. And it turns into like a kind of psychological horror film at the same time. She watches a film that reminds her of like a long buried childhood traumatic event, and that she searches for the director of the movie, and it sends her down this whole rabbit hole and everything. So that one was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I saw Cryptozoo, which was very cool. That's from writer and director Dash Shaw. And it's a feature-length animated film for adults. It's all hand-drawn animation, which is very impressive.
Love that.
It has Lake Bell, Michael Cera is in it as well. I cannot remember the rest of the cast. It is a incredibly ambitious movie. That's like a globe-trotting, like action adventure about a world full of cryptids. So, like any mythical creature you can think of, Sasquatch, Mothman, they have like unicorns, all that kind of stuff. But they traded and they're captured and sold on black markets. And there's a place called the Cryptozoo, which is where it's kind of like a sanctuary. And it gets into a whole bunch of different socio-political and moral questions of like, is a place like Cryptozoo, is it a sanctuary? Is it a prison? Is this the best way to, conserve creatures that don't have a voice for themselves for the most part? All that. It's a very, very cool movie. Just very unique, which is what I liked. I really tried to seek out things that was cool. There was John in the Hole. That's got Michael C. Hall in it. That's about a kid who leaves his family in a hole in his backyard and goes about his life and occasionally brings them down food. Really like ambiguous, kind of almost like abstract kind of thing. It has very little dialogue. And it mostly just shows this kid going about his days after drugging his family and placing them down a hole for a old amount of time. That was definitely interesting. Conversations about, like adolescence and growing up presented in a very creepy and fun way.
Sure.
I don't know. Should I just keep going?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
There is on the count of three. That's, what is his name? Jared Carmichael, I think. He did the Carmichael Show on NBC. He's a comedian. He wrote and directed this. This is a debut feature. And I really liked this one. It's about two best friends who decide to take each other's life because they're both depressed and suicidal.
Jeez.
And so,
another family film.
Yes, another great family film. It ends up being a dark comedy though. So it's just too, it's all about existential dread. Really taps into like the feelings specifically in this country, over things. It takes it in a really fun direction where they decide they have like a day of like no consequences. And then they're like, we'll do whatever it is we want to do and take care of, this one last day. And then we're going to kill each other. And, it's a little bit absurd. It's very funny. Yeah. I liked it. It's heart also, obviously. The message is don't kill yourself.
Yeah.
Addictively, but I watched Street Gang, how we got to Sesame Street. Basically, about the making of Sesame Street. And they focus more on like the producers of the show. Normally it'd be all Jim Henson and all that group, but it highlights some of like the more unsung people that were a huge part of the creative of the creation of Sesame Street, which is always interesting to me. I really am interested in children's programming, whether it be films or television.
Yeah, sure.
So it's neat. If you don't know anything about Sesame Street, it's definitely interesting. To me, I feel like it didn't offer much new information. That's really my only complaint about it. And that's on me than them, I guess. A Wild Indian was a good one. That is about complicated. That's about like it's generational trauma specifically from white colonization.
Wow.
And it is about these two teenage boys living on a Native American boys living on a reservation. Life just isn't great there. One of them was the result of a teenage pregnancy, and both of his parents drink and are abusive. It's kind of like the toll on the kid's psyche that takes. And he ends up committing a horrible crime, and he ropes in his only friend there helping him covering it up. And then it skips ahead in time, and the kid who committed, his name is Makwa, the kid who committed the crime now goes by Michael, and he's tried to cut ties, from most of his native heritage. And he lives like he has a white wife, he has a white child. He works in an office building. and everything. And his other friend, Tenno, who helped cover it up, was impacted by the event in a very different way. So when we catch up with him, he's getting out of prison. You know, he's covered in tattoos, stuff like that. So it's very interesting.
And then wait, is this a documentary or a drama?
Oh, sorry. This is a drama.
Okay.
So it's a fictional story. It has really great performances. Very dark movie.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of levity in this one, but it's great. I saw Passing, which was Rebecca Hall's directing debut.
Right, yeah.
She wrote the script as well. That's based on a 1929 novel from the Harlem Renaissance about two black women who are able to pass as white. One of them still lives her life as a black woman, and the other one has used it to basically craft this whole identity around her, where she pretends to be a white woman. So she's married to a white man who is very racist. It is like it's shocking, the scene where, you know, you learn the extent of his racism. It's like a jaw-dropping thing.
Yeah.
That's great. It's Tessa Thompson and Ruth Negga. It's shot in black and white.
Oh yeah.
And it takes its concept and it ends up being so much more than just about race. It's also about sexuality. It's about gender issues. It's about class. A whole bunch of different things there. That's a really, it's a much more subtle film. Really great dialogue, and everything. And Netflix picked that one up.
Oh, cool.
So they will have that later. I'll give you a couple more.
Yeah, please, man. Yeah, you saw a lot.
There was Mass, which was I think his name is Franz Kemp. He's best known. He's the stoner from The Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, yeah.
And this is his writing and directing debut. And this is another one that's not an easy watch. It is about two parents. One pair of parents lost their kid in a school shooting, and the other pair of parents are their kid was the shooter.
Oh, geez.
And it takes place a few years after the event, and both sets of parents meet in a church to just talk. And so it's almost 2 hours long. It plays out in real time, and it's just the conversation that they end up having. And as you can guess, it's full of highs and lows. I think what's really smart is it does its best. You know, it veers away as best as it can from the politics of it, because the point of the movie is to make it personal, and it's kind of to have the conversation that a lot of people in this country have been too afraid to have, which is the more like personal, emotional toll that these kind of events take on people.
Yeah.
And the sides from, both involved, tough watch. Good. Very
Yeah.
good.
You really sought out the happy ones, Nick.
I sure did, didn't I? Don't worry, because I also saw Prisoners of the Ghostland, which is Nicolas Cage in like a Mad Max. I'm going just off Mad Max, but there's like so much more going on.
Yeah.
I wish I knew how to describe it. So Nicolas Cage is a criminal, and he's hired to get this guy's daughter back, who's been captured. It's like a post-apocalyptic, very weird. And he is strapped to a suit that will blow up in 3 days if he doesn't get the job done. And specifically, they're attached to his testicles.
Mm.
So
Very Nicolas Cage.
Very Nicolas Cage. It's something. I don't really know how to describe it. It's from Sion Sono. He's a Japanese filmmaker. It was filmed in Japan. Cage flew over there. Whole deal.
Yeah.
That one's a trip. I wish I had more to say about that one, but honestly, the less you know, the more fun it is.
Is it kind of like Mandy?
No, it's not as serious.
Is it more like the Transporter friend, or not Transporter, Crank?
The Crank is definitely closer than Mandy.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's very theatrical.
Okay.
For 8 for Silver is another one I saw. It's a werewolf movie.
Ooh.
Changes what a werewolf can both like look like. The design is very interesting, and how it takes the concept of a werewolf story and changes it so it's not a thing we've seen a million times before, where a man turns into a werewolf at the full moon and everything. It makes it more of a curse due to horrendous actions. And it's more ambiguous about it. Like the synopsis is just like there's a town besieged by a wolf, but it might not be a wolf. Very cool. It is good horror, really cool creature designs, ideas in that one. It's a period piece also. I think it takes place in Russia as well.
Nice.
I am almost done here.
No, you're fine, man. I mean, I loved getting to go to Sundance those few years, and so it's kind of cool to hear about, because I heard a little bit about this year's festival, but I really haven't heard of any of these movies, so it's kind of cool to hear about them.
Yeah, some of them are getting picked up by well-known. The next one I'm going to talk about is called Pleasure. It just got picked up by A24.
Oh yeah, I've been hearing about that one.
This was one of my favorites. It might be my favorite. I don't know. This changes all the time. Pleasure is about a woman who comes from Sweden to join the porn industry. So she gets into the porn business. She moves to LA. And it is, I don't want to say like, because I have no other comparisons, like Devil Wears Prada almost, but with porn, it shows like the cutthroat business of that industry, and how, some people are friends, some people are, but it is, I saw the unrated version. I think A24 is going to release both a rated and unrated version. I would recommend the unrated version just to get the full effect, because it doesn't hold back in a lot of ways. There are depictions of very explicit things. It has the performances in are just fearless, not only for the content that's required of this movie, but also just like in the character. So her name is Bella Cherry, is the character's name. And, she goes from being a nobody to being a star, but it's being a star all it's cracked up to be, Mm-hmm. So it's kind of, it's a familiar formula in a way. But just like because of what it is, because of its subject and the way that it's presented with like nothing held back, really is really compelling. That was great. I also saw We're All Going to the World's Fair, which is a horror movie ish. That one is definitely more, artistic. It's about a girl who she's like 13, 14, early teenage girl living in anywhere America. You see some shots of outside. There's, like the remains of a Toys R Us, there's just regular like rundown fast food places off the highway, and everything is wherever this girl lives. And it's told predominantly through her webcam. And she joins an online role-playing game called The World's Fair, which is you prick your finger with blood, you put it on the screen, and you watch a video, and people document like how it changes them. So some people go through like physical changes, some people go through personality, mental changes. And so it's pretty much that. It takes a lot of notes. It directly references Paranormal Activity. So it takes a lot of notes from that as well. The lead actress is amazing. It is very, very scary. It's very unnerving. It is much more about creating like a mood and an atmosphere than, jump scaring you or anything like that. Very, very cool stuff.
Is this one, is it like Unfriended, where it's all from the computer screen POV?
It is mostly from a webcam POV, yeah. Not of a computer screen, but of this girl's bedroom.
Okay, yeah.
And it's cool how it kind of creates the ambiance with just, the glow of the computer screen is like most lighting.
Yeah.
It's really cool stuff. There's a lot of different ways to interpret it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That almost makes me think of like Cronenberg sort of body horror, or Kafka with the cockroach, and the metamorphosis, sort of weird, abstract, isolated people.
And part of it definitely goes in both isolation in the digital age in general, and also, is more relevant because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And, it definitely deals on the feelings of loneliness and isolation like that. Yes.
That's awesome.
Pleasure almost to me sounded like Spring Breakers meets Boogie Nights.
Yes. Yes.
Now, what was the time frame of you watching all these movies?
I don't recommend watching as many as I did.
No.
It was a bit overwhelming, so I think I'm going to pace myself better next time. Festival took place over about a week. It was Thursday, I think it was the 14th, or I can't remember the exact name. But it was a Thursday to a Wednesday is what I worked. So the first film of the day would start at noon. And it was a film every 3 hours. So then you watch it 3,
right.
6, 9. And then there's a midnight film. And at 7 a.m. the next day, you could do a catch up of whatever you missed the day before. You could pick one. And then after the awards ceremony, after awards were given out, you could watch the films that won awards as well. Like a short window of time where you could watch those. And what's funny is I didn't see either one of the movies that won the most awards, which were Hive and Coda, picked up by Apple. I didn't see either one of those. Maybe I'm just bad at picking. I like the movies I saw though. So
yeah.
But yeah, it was a ton of films over a very short span of time. And I basically just took as many notes as I could throughout. Some stuff I just enjoyed watching. Just take a break.
Yeah. No, I remember when I went in person, and like I would schedule like 3 or 4 movies in a day. And after a few days of that, just get like burnt out. Even if it's a movie you want to see, it's like it was burnt out.
I did. It's definitely easier with it being virtual, and you're just. I did Film Fest 919, which is in Chapel Hill. I did that 2 years ago. Oh no, I might break up again. No, I'm back. Okay,
very good.
But I did that 2 years ago, and that was I saw Jojo Rabbit. I saw Parasite. I saw Dolomite Is My Name, and it was definitely much more exhausting physically and mentally doing there in person. I only saw like 5 or 6 movies, if compared to like 24 or whatever I saw or something.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, I mean, thanks so much for talking about that. I mean, I've really heard so little about Sundance this year, so it's kind of cool to hear an insider's look.
Yeah, it was a real great experience for me.
Yeah,
I think it was definitely a success.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I mean, anything else, guys, you want to mention or talk about, Paul? Quiet Paul?
Yeah, no, I was just kind of letting y'all have that, I particularly wanted Nick here because I knew that he had done Sundance. And once I realized that Judas was like a movie that was out, it was on my radar. And then I saw that he was watching it for Sundance. So, I definitely wanted him on here for that insight and for that look into it. I mean, I don't, I guess, have anything else really to add to the show other than artistic endeavors aren't always necessarily immediately fruitful, and you just have to keep trying at it. At Sundance, there were 2 movies that won a whole bunch of awards that got picked up by Apple. But at the end of the day, the movies that people will be talking about could be completely different movies. And we might, not really talk about the ones that won big at Sundance. So art's all about trial, error, failure and success. And so whether it's a podcast, a song, a poem, TV pilot, keep trying at it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's well said.
And also celebrate Black History Month. That was also one of the reasons that we picked Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah.
Is because me and my wife are doing Black History Month all month long for our date nights. So
that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So I guess that about does it for the show this week. Now, next week, I realized, I was horrified to see is it Kong or Justice League that's coming out next week?
Next week, you and I are actually sitting down with.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Next week, you and I are sitting down with Allison Pierce, hopefully, to talk about Salem's Lot. She's a film critic, writer, essayist, theorist. She's got a book out called Women Make Horror. And so we're hopefully going to be able to sit down, talk with her, and talk about Pet Sematary, the original Pet Sematary from 78, I think, 78, 79, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we reviewed the remake around Halloween last year, so it would be cool to get both sides of the story.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Yeah. Well, thank God. We'll skip whatever's coming out.
Actually, I was also going to say, Nick, what were you saying?
I was saying I think both those come out next month. Justice League and
yeah.
Oh, wait, we're only in February, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank goodness. Oh man, Nick, thank you. Oh gosh, I have a month.
I tell you what, though, in March we've got 2 terrible films that we can have Nick on.
Oh, great.
To rip into. One of them is Justice League.
Mm.
The other one is Monster Hunter.
Oh yeah.
4 hours.
4 hours of Justice League, or however long the Monster Hunter movie is.
Oh, let's hope it's 2.5 or more. But no, oh man, that takes a load off. Thank you. So we'll do that interview for next, and that discussion for next week. So that'll be cool.
Nick, where can people find your posts, your content, all those sorts of things?
Yeah, so I'm way too active on Twitter, so that's the best avenue to find me at. You can find me at NICKY715. That's probably wrong. I think it's NIC.
You can send me the username and the link.
You can find me there. As I said at the start, you can find me on discussingfilm.net. You can find me on culturedvultures.com. You can find me on geeksofcolor.co, and you can find me at knotfest.com. I'm at all of those places, and also at ndelgadillo.com for a culmination of all of those.
Wow.
Yay.
And and again, you can send me if there are any particular links or usernames. I can add that in the show notes so people can get it really directly.
Perfect. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, Nick, man, thanks again for taking the time. It's nice to talk to you.
Thank you very much for having me here. This was great. Yes. That would be fun next time.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And Paul, as always, man, again, thanks for helping set up this as well as the show next week. So I really appreciate that, man. Things have been a little hectic on my side, so I do appreciate that a lot.
No, of course. This is a labor of love always. So
yes, isn't it always?
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, yeah, we hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, and we'll see you next time.